There's an old saying, thief from thief make God laugh. But some thieves, they have a conscience. Because if they see your bananas, a bunch of bananas hanging on the tree, they wouldn't go with a whole bunch of bananas. They'll take a hand or two and leave the rest on the tree, well, for another time. So give them a little break, yeah? The conscience prick them sometime. They ain't go with a whole bunch. So yes, an old saying, thief from thief, make God laugh. Well, I guess God must be laughing at a lot of politicians. There is another saying that emphasizes the point. A thief never like to see another thief carrying a bag. We have different ways of saying it. The Guyanese will say, a thief man. Never like to see another thief man carrying a bag. Now, those sayings about thieves revisited my mind recently while I was given a tour of Grenada's beautiful countryside, a tour by a very good friend. So I mentioned the term bush yam, but immediately he jokingly informed me that it was a forbidden term in Grenada these days. Now, the bush yam that grows wild in the bush is not there for every Tom, Dick, and Harry to take. If a man walks with a bag containing the so-called bush yam in Grenada, the police can stop the individual to inquire where he got the yam. Thieves used to strive on liberating bush yam from people's property. But these days, the guy said, the police cracking down on all those who thief the yam. There is a fancy word that they have now called predial larceny. Now, the stealing of nutmegs was always a cause for concern. Some thieves, they were able to sell more nutmegs than the owners of the nutmeg lands. Then the authorities got wise and asked people to show proof that they had nutmeg lands before allowing them to sell the nutmegs. They had to show the nutmeg book. But thieves, they're very cunning people. So they approached the owners of nutmeg lands and sold the nutmeg to them, to the owners who had lands. When bonus time rolled around, those unscrupulous nutmeg owners ended up with bigger bonuses because they were able to sell more nutmegs than their lands produced. You see, people always find ways to bypass the laws, and some have big degrees in stealing. When you see politicians, ask them if you think lying. Well, now one fella I met in River Road, he told me, boy, if big man thieving, what you expect small man to do, eh? I remember the story of a certain individual who stole a barrel of pig's notes on the pier. Pig's note on the pier. He threw it in the sea. While people stood and observed, all they saw was a barrel floating. He under the barrel. Somehow, he found a way to push the barrel without anybody seeing him. So all they were seeing was a barrel floating. Hold on a minute. There's somebody just calling me on the phone. Someone just called to ask me if I ever heard the term Basil coming for you. Well, I always write about Basil. You see, I know the saying. Basil is death. And when Basil calls, no one could refuse to say, I'm not going. No one could say, I'm not going. I have to get this correct. No one could say, I'm not going when Basil calls. You see, sometimes when we talk, we say all kind of thing, but you gotta watch what we say. Reminds me of a story I heard about a man who boasted that he was not afraid of Basil. In other words, not afraid of death. Now, when Basil showed up on the man's doorstep, the man became so afraid he shouted, "What the hell? I can't make a joke in my own house these days." Yeah, what the joke you're making, partner? What the jokes you're making? Now back to the cunning thieves. Why the thieves are so brave these days? They walk with rods to jug down fruits like oranges. And then they hide the rods in the land. They want to have the problem of walking with a rod to come back. So they hide the rod in the land for more action at a later time. But one fellow was so embarrassed after buying his own car tire from a thief. You know, the man never told anybody. Somebody sold him a car tire, and he was so happy. When he checked his car, the man, the fella sold him his own car tire. And yet that's the reason God has laughed, boy. They say thief from thief, make God laugh. Anthony Wendell the Riggs. I see I made a mistake there. I could correct it, but I'll leave it, man.